Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the maiden voyage of making money moves. My name is Jared Sandler, representing Longhorn Investments, and I'm joined by my friends Kylah Boyd, an ace realtor with Texas Urban Living, and Eric Feldman, Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing with Longhorn Investments. Perhaps what we're going to do here gives you a little bit of a nudge. Maybe it gives you the itch to get involved in real estate investing, but I think what we'd really like to accomplish here with this video and perhaps subsequent videos is educate you, help you understand what the process is all about and how we're all involved in that process. So before we get going, I guess we'll start with some more detailed introductions. So I'll turn it over to Kylah.
So I'm Kylah. I am with Texas Urban Living Realty. I am a buyer's agent and a listing agent, but my specialty are investment properties. So I work with a lot of investors, and I would say I've been doing investments for about 5 years now. So I help them find investment properties. I do a video tour of them because some of my investor clients aren't local. So that's just kind of a sneak peek of what I offer my current clients for that.
And Eric?
Yes, sir, Jared. I am Eric Feldman. I am with Longhorn Investments. I'm SVP, as you said, and been here for quite a while, about 7 years. We are a direct lender, lending money to people that are doing investment properties on both the single family side primarily and a little bit on the multifamily as well. And we help our borrowers leverage our money to buy investment properties. And we work with people like Kylah and have specifically worked with Kylah in the past on getting deals done, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what brings us all together here. We certainly have some great experiences working with Kylah, and we met because, as Kylah mentioned, she is a realtor who has a focus on investment properties. You meet a lot of realtors who, they can maybe help you find investment properties, but that might not be their specialty. So Kylah, I guess I want to start with that for you. What makes you an expert in that field? What are some of the things that maybe help separate you from just a general realtor who can maybe help someone find an investment property, whereas you're someone who really specializes in that?
I will say that it requires a lot of patience. You're not going to find an amazing deal every single day. So you do kind of have to wait to find like the really good deals. But with that being said, I know a lot of investors kind of want off-market properties, but I tend to go towards the MLS, the properties that are listed on the MLS, and there are deals there. You just have to work them and you have to know your numbers. So that's kind of what sets me apart. I'm already working the properties that are there. I just know what to look for. So I spend about 3 to 4 hours a day, 7 days a week in the MLS hand picking properties. So I go through every single property that is on the market for that day to where I'm caught up with current properties, and I hand pick the ones that look to need anything from a studs up renovation to maybe just some cosmetic updates. And then I make a list and I go back through that list and I run my comps on it. And if it looks like there's a decent spread, then I will send that out in an email to my investor clients with what the estimated rehab ARV is, any documents I may have, MLS info, things like that. And then if I still think it's a good property, but the money's not quite there, I'll put it on what I call a watch list. And every few days, I'll keep an eye out for a status change or a price drop. And then I'll rerun the numbers and then send those out. If it catches the eye of one of my clients, they'll shoot me an email and say, hey, let's go look at it. Or, they'll put in an offer, or they'll say, hey, I'm not here right now, but can you go out and take some videos and pictures of it for me? And I'll do that. I think that right there is kind of what separates me from another real estate agent that may say that they're investor friendly. You really have to be persistent, patient, and consistent with it. You can't just look for properties here and there. You've got to get to a point where you know pretty much every property because you're in there every single day, and you've got to be very, very patient with it. It's just not something where you're just like, hey, let's go look at this. You've got to know your numbers. You got to know what a hard money appraiser is going to look for. You've got to know the market. You have to know what a buyer would be willing to pay for it. And with that being said, you have to know your client. So your investors, every investor does a different renovation. So you've got to know what type of renovation they're going to do in order to give an accurate estimated rehab ARV. So different finish outs, it's going to be different.
Kylah, I noticed that when I see a lot of your emails. I happen to be one of the lucky people on your listserv. And when you're running them, I find, because I placed some clients with you, we actually had somebody the other day that is, Kylah's the key piece here because she has access to inventory, right? And all of our borrowers we have are dying for good deals in DFW. And so Kylah will send this email out. And I'm just curious, when you run your numbers, as far as you even say so much as, here's what I think it's going to be worth, here's kind of your renovation numbers. How do you come up with those? Because I think that's kind of another thing that separates you, in that you come up with accurate numbers and when you're predicting something or projecting something to a borrower.
Yeah, oddly enough, I've gotten to the point where whatever my estimated rehab number is in the email, I'm pretty much spot on with what an appraisal is going to be, time and time again. And it's just experience. I've come to learn the area. I've come to learn what price per square footage is. It's also keeping an eye on the comps, right? So I attach the comps in the email that I send out. It's seeing what they sold for, what's price per square footage, John Smith's next door home sold for. But I also keep in the loop with appraisers as well. So I try to touch base with them at least twice a month. And that is a hard money appraiser. And then that's also a bank appraiser too. So I can kind of see both sides, what a buyer who's using a hard money lender may look for. Also what a buyer using a regular conventional bank lender may look for. And so they kind of tell me what's changing and what's going, and I keep an eye on it. And it's kind of gotten me really, really good with my numbers.
And I'd say that's so important because, without ranking all the things that maybe get in the way of a deal, I'd say on the front end, one of the things that can hold up a deal is when a borrower has one vision on what the appraisal is, and then the appraisal comes back and it's not anywhere close to that. And a lot of this we've talked about before. You got to take the emotion out of these properties. It's a numbers game, but when the appraisal is spot on or close to it, at least the deal is a lot more seamless. But when you come back and you're just being super optimistic, that's great. And in your head, you might be able to, have sweet dreams that night thinking of, this great spread you're going to get. But just because you think the ARV is this, doesn't mean the appraiser is going to agree. So if you're prepared, if you're educated in advance on what's realistic, that's going to make the process flow so much easier.
Well, and I do try actually to be more conservative with my numbers. So those investors that have used me over and over again know that the number that I give them in the email, there's some wiggle room for them to actually squeeze a little bit more out of that. And I do that on purpose because I want to leave, margin of error for the investors to have some wiggle room on there. And so quite often I hear, hey, it appraised higher than what you said. And that's great because that's what I want it to do. I am not going to be that real estate agent that says, yeah, you can totally get X, Y, and Z out of this house. I'm realistic. And sometimes the numbers I give you are going to be exactly what you want to hear. And sometimes they're not. So I'm very, very honest and open with it. If an investor client says, well, I think I can get this for it, sometimes I have to have a conversation with them and say, a buyer is not going to pay that much for this property, and this is why. So it's all about really just knowing your market.
And Eric, I want to get into with you kind of where hard money fits into this equation. But before we do, I think that last point that Kylah brought up is huge because those conversations are important. You don't want, whether it's a realtor like Kylah or a hard money lender like Eric, to just be super optimistic about every deal under the sun, because if it's not a deal that makes sense, then it's going to be a bad experience at the end of the day. You're either going to have trouble selling it, you're not going to make money on it, or certainly not enough to justify the time, or you might lose money. And the people who are involved in the process are there to help you understand, not a guarantee, but hey, the odds are this deal isn't going to work out for you. And it stinks to say that because Kylah, you want to do deals. You want to sell properties. You want to help people get stuff done. But as is the case with us, is the case with Kylah, if it doesn't work out, they're not going to come back to you. They're not going to come back to us. And so, for people watching who, they take hearing no as a negative, it really should be a positive. It should help you understand that you're working with someone whom you can trust, who's got your best interest in mind, and someone who's not just in it for a hit it and quit it one deal only. They want that relationship. And in order to have that relationship, they know that they've got to steer you down the right path. But Eric, the hard money side, we've referenced hard money. Maybe people watching know what hard money is, but a lot of people don't. How does hard money fit into this equation?
Yeah, I'd like to think we're a great friend to Kylah on that because we can close quickly, right? That's one of the benefits of hard money. And what it is really just lending money on a future value on both the purchase and renovation of a property, right? And so people can leverage our money. And the idea is if it's a great deal, we're going to provide all of the capital for the purchase and for the renovation. Because what we do is we say, hey, what's the property going to be worth in the future, also known as the after repair value or the ARV. And we take that number and we lend a certain percentage on that number. And so it's different than what a bank would do because a bank looks at what a property is worth right now, right? And they're going to lend, hey, I'm going to lend you 75 or 80% of what it's worth. We don't care what kind of work you're going to put into it. It looks like it's a piece of crap property. So that's what we're looking at right now, right? Whereas the beauty of hard money is we look at what it's going to be worth. And we know that you're going to put some money into it. And so we're lending you money on a future value, therefore mitigating your out-of-pocket costs, right? And in the end, allowing you to do more deals with Kylah and us. And so, we both provide a valuable service in that Kylah's finding great deals, right? And we're lending money so people can close on them quickly. And whether you're doing flips to build up your capital or you're doing rental properties, there's a method called BRRRR, which we can talk about in the future, but it's a way you can build up a rental property portfolio. And Longhorn has the ability, because we're a direct lender, to lend quickly. We can lend 100% of the financing, and we make things happen smoothly and professionally for our borrowers.
Kylah, you deal with hard money lenders, whether it's us or others, but in the experiences, and maybe later on, we'll really kind of walk through a specific case study with, one of the people that we kind of work together on. But what are the things that kind of stood out to you in working with Eric and working with Longhorn?
The number one thing I look for is customer service. So how quickly you all are going to respond to me, my questions, my calls, my texts, my emails, and then how quickly you're going to respond to my client. If I have a question at 9 o'clock at night because I'm working on a contract and it's, an immediate answer, I need an answer. If it's the weekend, I need you guys to be available to get back with me on something. And then the second thing I look for is timeliness. How quickly can you close a loan? Are you going to be competitive with someone that may be trying to offer on an investment property that has traditional financing? So those are the two things that I look for, and you guys have been absolutely great with responding to me and my clients, so that hasn't been an issue. And as far as timeliness on closing deals, you guys have been excellent on that as well. So those are the two things that I mainly look for.
Now, we've talked about working together, and we've sort of danced around it. And I think people watching or listening can maybe do the math as to how that would work. But if you don't mind, can one of you walk us through, or both of you really, how Kylah and Eric, how you guys work together on a deal and how everything really kind of materializes?
Sure. I'm happy to start with it. And maybe in the future, we can do one where we go through the numbers and like an actual case study and show you some before and after pictures and discuss real life numbers and how the deal worked out. Because I think that's really cool when investors or future investors see that. But on this particular one, we had met Kylah before at a Realtor type meetup group, I believe, or we met somebody from Kylah's office, and she was like, you got to get with Kylah. She is the Realtor that deals with investors, right? And so, as you remember, Jared, I think you and I spoke with Kylah, and
a Starbucks thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you got it. We had a nice meeting. I think Kylah was like, wait, you guys can help me and I can help you, and let's make this happen, right? So shortly thereafter, like very shortly, I talked to a potential borrower at a real estate investment club, right? And this guy's like, hey, I don't really understand how hard money works, and I really want to find somebody that can help me find properties that make sense, right? And I was like, do I have the two people for you, right? So it worked out great, and we'll bring him in on a future call. But I hooked him up with Kylah because Kylah had a couple of deals right then that she was sending out in her email blast, and right away this guy was ready. We got him pre-approved here. And he jumped on the deal because Kylah said, here's what I think it is. Here's the work that probably needs to be done. It's going to be worth X. It fit right in his numbers and in his box, right? There wasn't much emotion. It just made sense. Mm-hmm. And so Kylah took over from there. And I'll let her jump in a little bit on that, but she really made the process easy because she had the property.
Yeah, so, you kind of put me into contact with him. I sent him the property, the comps, all the information that I had on it. Him and I went out and met at the property for the first time and looked at the property. He had his contractor with him, so he was able to get a bid on what repairs were going to cost. We put it in an offer, it got accepted. So then, we went under contract, and then I sent you all copies of the contract and put you into contact with the title company. And from there, it was just documents and appraisals and paperwork. And, that was one of the properties that ended up over appraising what I originally came in at. So yes, I love to hear that. So that was definitely a good, first impression for that particular client. But yeah, Eric and I were working, seamlessly. He kind of just passed him off on me, and then I did kind of the heavy lifting as far as numbers and showing the property and negotiating terms. And then from then on out, it was just paperwork and making sure that the house appraised and the numbers worked with what that particular client wanted to do for his rehab.
And then if memory serves me correctly, we closed super quickly. I think it was in a week or less, or probably less than that. And after that, he got to work on the property. I don't think it took too long to do the renovations, but I do want to highlight, I think, Kylah, maybe you can go over a little bit, during COVID and the pandemic, the different things you did to sell the property, because I think that's also what makes you awesome, because you had to go above and beyond to get it sold, and you did it for a nice profit, I believe.
Yeah, that particular property happened to hit the market and come for sale right when, COVID-19 hit the Dallas area. It was like perfect timing.
Right.
So everything shifted to virtual. As real estate agents, we're already online. We already have an online presence. We just kind of had to take it up a couple notches. So that involved doing videos of the property. I had clients want me to FaceTime them the property that were potential buyers. I even did some open houses providing, hand sanitizer, masks, gloves, only letting in, 2 people at a time. I even did some virtual open houses on that. So everything just kind of shifted virtually. I did some paid ad campaigns, some e-flyers, anything that I could do to just get like an online presence for that particular property.
One thing I wanted to touch on, and I guess the virtual side of this comes into play. Kylah, you mentioned this earlier, for out-of-town buyers and for us out-of-town borrowers. We get a lot of people who will come and say, I live in X state, but I'm looking to lend or borrow invest in a different state. And we'll get into, Eric, kind of what we want to see if that's the case. But I guess, Kylah, you, with what you mentioned at the very beginning, I'd love for you to kind of maybe restate. You can do that as well. Someone's watching this and wants to get involved in Texas, but they're in Indiana or Montana or wherever. You can make that happen.
Yeah, so all of my clients are located in different areas. Some of them are local to the DFW area, but some of them are in different states, and I even have a couple that are not even in the U.S. They're in different countries. So I can do all of that for them. So obviously they're not going to be local. So the ones that are on vacation or they're busy with their current renovations, or the ones that just aren't local, they have me run out there and do a video of them. And so of the property. And so what that means is I'm videoing the actual neighborhood. So the homes surrounding it, the homes across the street, all of the exterior, so they can just get a feel for what the actual neighborhood's like. And then I do an extensive video walkthrough. So every cabinet, drawer, closet is being opened, hot water heater, all of that. They're getting video of the serial number, the manufacturing and installation dates, all of that. And I don't do crawl spaces or attics, so I do draw the line at that. Don't get in there to video that for them, but they get that, and then it's sent to them via an iCloud link. So to me, I feel like that's way better than photos, because they can get the picture and they can go through it and they can hit pause or rewind on it. And I've had plenty of my clients base their offer on videos. They kind of rely on that because there's no way they can be here physically to look at it.
All right, so Eric, we got Joe Borrower in Montana that wants to invest in the DFW area, and we put Joe in touch with Kylah. and Kylah's showing Joe properties. What are the things that you would want to see from Joe not being local in order to, be comfortable green lighting a deal?
So a lot of times, and we have a ton of people that love Texas specifically and DFW, right, from out of state, just because they think that it's business wise and everywhere else, we seem to always be better than most other states. And the way our properties are a little bit more affordable for the most part. And so we have tons of people from California and all over, right? And so the key thing when I talk to a borrower, besides being pre-approved with the normal stuff that we require, is what kind of team do you have here on the ground in Dallas, right? And what makes that team? Kylah is huge because Kylah is going to go and, like she said, check out the property herself. She's not going to tell somebody something that's, not the case. She's going to give them all the facts and say, hey, maybe this property takes this amount of work, or wow, this property is pretty interesting on the inside. It's going to take a little bit more work, right? And I've seen properties with Kylah where we've looked at a property together and been exactly on the same page of, there's one I have in mind, Kylah, that was, I was actually looking at for myself, and it just needed a lot of work. And we both were like, yep, if we kind of thought from outside maybe 50,000, and then I think we went on the inside and maybe it was more like 75,000 or whatever, right? And so Kylah is a very critical part. Other than Kylah, we want to see that, do they have somebody on the ground? Do they have family members or friends? That's, that's the most ideal situation. If they have somebody they can trust, in addition to a realtor. We want to see contractor is huge, right? Who's your contractor? Do you trust them? Because that's the piece I see a lot of times when deals go wrong, is somebody does, some kind of fly-by-night contractor, and that person may take advantage of them, right? Now, Kylah is going to probably be checking out the property for them from time to time, depending on their relationship. We can look to a certain extent because we get an appraisal done, but it's very important that they vet out different contractors, probably get referrals, and then you need a whole team, so you got your lender, you got your realtor, you got your contractor. Maybe you have a title company that you get referred that is used to doing investment properties, an insurance agent. So we really want to find out that they have a whole team together, so to enable that they're going to be successful on a deal. That's all we want. And I assume Kylah wants the same, because that means they're going to come back and do another deal.
Yeah, I think I'm glad you guys highlighted that, because that's, whether you're local or not, having the infrastructure in place, having the people lined up, I think gives you a little bit of a leg up in the likelihood for success, or just, making the process easier. You can come to either of us and say, listen, I'm totally new. I don't know a GC that I really would lean on here. I don't have this, but we can help piece that together. It's not that that's a non-starter, but if you can get that stuff ahead of time, or as you develop, a little bit of a catalog or experience in doing this, and you're able to know, this is my guy for this is my gal for that, it makes the process a lot easier. All right, I think that's it, unless we have any final thoughts for today from either of you.
Any teasers for next time, Jared?
Well, so, you both mentioned the deal, or a deal that we've done together. Maybe we'll have a special guest kind of jump in. Maybe we get some numbers. You talked about the Burr method. I think we got a lot to cover, but I think the important thing is, hopefully we will be back and hopefully continue to educate you on this process, so that, as the title suggests, you can make money moves. For Kylah and Eric, I'm Jared. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you.